Hello, family. Welcome to Thriving Couples by the Dindies.
The place where we keep marriage real, fun, and fulfilling.
Fantastic. You're looking good, babe.
Thank you.
As you can see, I've started marinating her because today it's hashtag Kivumbi Thursday. The family knows what we're talking about. So today we'd like to talk about the aspect of sexual pleasure in marriage and how to keep the sexual relationship exciting, and how to keep things going even after many years of marriage. So you don't want to miss today's episode. It's all about the place of sex, the art of intimacy in marriage.
Stay tuned.
Great. So today is one of those days. I'm really happy about this topic.
You're always happy about this topic.
Yeah, indeed. So for the Kenyans, I'm a Luya man. She's a Kamba girl. We love this thing. So today is a great opportunity for us to talk about just how to build that aspect of intimacy in marriage, physical intimacy in marriage. So I think a great place to start is by talking about sex as God's idea. I think that's an important perspective to have from the very beginning.
And so, am I the one supposed to talk
Yes, Kabisa.
Okay, yeah. So, sex is God's gift to the couple. In the Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve were told to be fruitful and multiply. So therein lies sex. And in the Bible, there's this book called Songs of Songs. I would encourage every couple to read through it. And it of course goes to a lot of details and and a lot of euphemisms that you might need to get commentaries to be able to understand. But it's just to say that sex in marriage is God's idea. It's blessed. It's amazing, and in as much as it's for being fruitful and multiplying, it's not just for siring babies. There's a place of pleasure from sex within the marital relationship, and it's there to bond the two, and that's why a marriage is never consummated until the sexual act actually does happen. So it's a beautiful thing, and it's an area that is good as a couple to set yourself free, know that it's blessed, and enjoy it, because when you don't, then there are also going to be other problems, and the problems in that regard will come from other areas. If you're having unresolved conflict, if you're having resentment, if you're having inhibitions, or you have past trauma that has not been dealt with, then those things can really affect the sexual intimacy in marriage. So they need to be addressed.
Yep. I think I like how you started by saying, this is God's idea. There's something in the group we call Dada wa Parokia. There are people who've been brought up in church and they get married, and they still look at sex as sin, and especially for ladies. And that's why I wanted you to introduce the topic, so that just to give freedom to our sisters out there.
And sometimes they don't just look at it as sin, they look at it as for the husband. They don't realize that they also need to enjoy it as well.
Yes. Sometimes the only marital advice given when young ladies are getting married, they're told, usinyime mzee.
That makes it look like this laborious duty that you just do, and you might be doing resentfully, and it's not the right attitude towards sex in marriage.
God's idea is that would have fun, it would be exciting, it's something that would bond the couple together, and so it's really something beautiful. It's a gift from God, and it's good, as we start talking about it today, to have that mindset. It's not evil.
Yes,
it's not dirty. This is a good thing, and it's a godly thing. And we in the Thriving Couples community, we've been very open to talk about this, because in many circles, especially Christian circles, these things are talked in harsh tones. They are swept under the carpet. there is no proper premarital counseling done around this area. People are essentially left to kind of figure things out. And sometimes the wedding night can be a source of great...
It's a journey.
A great disappointment. As guys, on our wedding night, my wife here disappeared into... disappeared into the bathroom, and I was waiting there as a red-blooded lawyer man, waiting for action, and she took cover in the bathroom.
But I eventually redeemed my image. I think you must clarify that.
Yes, now she's a pro now. Yeah, but just to say, it is important for people who are getting married for proper counseling to be done. We believe in people keeping themselves away from sex before marriage. I know in today's culture, it's a very unpopular thought that you can actually relate, date, court without really getting intimate in a sexual manner. We believe if you get intimate before marriage, a lot of knowing of each other that should be happening in a vertical position gets compromised when you start knowing each other in a horizontal position. So the best way to truly get to know someone is without the encumbrance of the emotional aspects that sex brings into the picture. So there are so many people that have sex before marriage, but then when they get married,
they have a sexless marriage.
Now sex is not happening. In fact, I think one of the most shocking things for us since we started the movement, Thriving Couples, the number of couples that have reached out to us and say, hey, for us, it's been 1 month, 2 months.
Oh, years.
1 year. Yeah, years without getting sexually intimate. And these are married people. And we think that is really not the way to go.
It's not the way to go. And like Keith has alluded to, what happens is that for those who are dating, before we just shift the focus to where it needs to be in marriage, is that the earlier you bring in sexual relations in a dating relationship or in a courting relationship, the less likely you are to get to know each other. And therefore you end up getting married to a stranger and get really surprised that you do not know them, because you focus every time, instead of, you have any tension in your relationship, instead of learning how to resolve the conflict, or, you start discussing maybe things that are uncomfortable, it's easy to just shift to the easiest thing to do, which might seem to be sex. And that will bring you trouble, because then it becomes an easy compromise and you don't get to know the person you're getting married to. And then again, it begs the question, if you're compromising at this point, then in marriage, how much more likely are you to compromise outside the marriage? But that said, let's focus on sex in marriage. And it's really an adventure. It's a journey. It's one thing that helps you get to know your spouse. And sex will be different in the different stages of marriage. When you're in your honeymoon phase, when the kids come, when you get into midlife, then menopause, and then beyond, when you're really trying to also rise up the career ladder, and all those times, there's going to be different seasons that will determine how your sex is going to look like. But like we love to say, is that there has to be intentionality throughout to ensure that this is happening. Frequency is very important. So intensity, that is frequency, and quality and quantity are both very important. So I think
that's a very critical point.
Yes,
because especially I have to tear the
women as well.
Because many times the ladies would say, hey, but we did this matter yesterday. Surely. Tena leo.
Watataka kukemea shetani.
Yeah, and they might want to rebuke the enemy. But
who is not there?
It's important to know that the sex drive is God-given. This is God gave it to us as humanity, and especially as men. Oxygen is here, and the need
I thought
for
money
sex
was next. So
no, the need for sex is right next. It's right next. So it's a need. It's beyond just a want. It's a need. But it's good to know that for men also, it's not just a physical need. there's a deep connection that happens when the physical intimacy is going on in a marital relationship. There's a very deep connection that goes on. That's why we say sometimes men have sex to feel loved. And
women need to feel loved to have sex.
Yes. So that dynamic.
So that dance helps you keep.
Yes. So both aspects of it, so that the emotional aspects of the lady are taken care of, the physical aspects of the man are also taken care of. But I just needed to point out that for us, the fact that we had bed shaking yesterday does not mean that the bed should be stable today.
Okay, that's abstract.
No, I'm just saying. Even tonight, we need to remember this vision.
We got this.
Yes. So I like that idea that frequency is important, but also quality is important, because as a lot of couples reach out to us, especially the ladies, sometimes when they're not having satisfactory sexual experience, it makes it harder for them
desire.
Next time. So it's important to make the sexual encounter fulfilling for both partners, and for that to happen, there has to be a lot of free communication, openness. I think the vulnerability that God intended, and that's why they say the man and Adam and Eve in the garden were naked and not ashamed. The idea was to be very vulnerable so that you can share your deepest needs, you can share your deepest fantasies without feeling like somebody will judge you in a certain way. Because for you to have a very beautiful sexual experience, you cannot have that while being holding on control. We like to say the more you surrender to each other, the better the sexual experience becomes.
Yes, that's very important. And now that you emphasized it being more of a greater need for the men and for us women, that we love to feel loved first before we can engage in the sexual activity. I think that is just very important for husbands to realize that this sexual, the warm up for the next one, what we call marination, preparing your spouse for the next episode, starts as soon as the last one ends. So it's not just the end of that episode and you're fine and good to go. It's good to remember, one, even to appreciate your partner at that point and how it has been and continue, that with the romance we talked about, the thoughtfulness, the kind things that you need to do, and keep them, it's in the morning when you wake up, get to connect, get to talk throughout the day, show interest in your partner, that in the evening you find that, the embers have not died off, that they still warm, so the warm up is going to be very easy. So if you have a good experience, the quality is very important, because for us women, if you're not doing a good job, and of course to have a good job done, it's really teamwork. But if it's not going on well, then there's going to be a problem. Of course, we can go into much more details, but I think maybe for this episode, we are going to focus on the more the top layer of
absolutely. Then in recurring episodes, we'll go and talk about some specific aspects and just see how to pan it out. But I think the other aspect that it's good to mention, it's very easy to become a sexless marriage.
Yes. As
the business of life checks in. So although we like the novelty of spontaneous sex, in the movies, usually people are getting into the house, they're slapping each other against the walls, and clothes are flying all over the place, and action is happening and spontaneously.
Some amazing yoga poses, kind of.
Yeah, but in real life, it's important to actually schedule your intimacy. And we people had to do that at some point in our lives when we were getting so busy. We had to sit down and say, hey, we actually need to have a schedule so we know sex is happening on these days. If it happens on the other days, well and good. But bare minimum, there are specific days where it's happening. So it's important to schedule sex. The story of spontaneous sex in marriage,
you're going to have very little of it.
Yes.
Wait for that.
Yes. So schedule it in, and then keep to that. If for some reason it's not going to happen, you have to say, when is it happening next?
Yeah, we say if not tonight, then when? You have to be very specific. You just don't leave it to chance. Then you realize a week has gone, 2 weeks, and the other partner will start feeling taken for granted. So it's very important, and even to have very uncomfortable conversations. If maybe it's not going well and you realize there's a pattern, it's good to talk about it. And this should not happen in that sacred place, should not happen in your bedroom. The best would be like take a walk or go to a place where you don't even have to be facing each other direct, and like we love to use the sandwich method. Then say, oh, I like that our frequency has been good or has improved if it's not where you want it to be, although I just feel like I'm uncomfortable about this and this, and then but I think then you end with something positive. But it's just to say that if you feel at this point in your relationship that your sexual relationship is not at the right place, it's good to have that conversation, but start from a point of appreciating one another and then addressing what the issues are, and know that it's also going to be a process to get it right, but it also takes intentionality.
Absolutely. And sex is an area that can really hurt deeply. So I think this aspect of rejection, if you're always rejecting your partner's advances, somebody can feel like you're not just rejecting the sex, you're actually rejecting them as a person. So it is important to understand that. And so as the relationship continues, if there are aspects, if for some reason you're not able to, it's good to communicate very well, but still appreciate your partner, even with non-sexual touch, so that they know they're appreciated. You're not being rejected. You're saying, well, I'm not able to for whatever reason today, but next time. And married to that is a question that a lot of men ask and request, that the lady is just never initiating. Can you speak to that?
I think what I would say is that in the marriage space, it's very good to be free with one another and to appreciate one another. And this goes, if the husband is one who is always initiating and the wife never shows interest in that regard, as much as she might be responsive, with time he might wonder, doesn't she find me attractive? So sometimes by just initiating is telling the guy, hey, I love this. I enjoy this. I enjoy our times together, and I'm attracted to you. I want you. So, many times it's easy for a man to just feel needed, to meet the bills, to take care of things, to take leadership in the home. But he also wants to be wanted because it's this area that it's almost vain. It's not like you will die if you don't have sex, but just being wanted for him. So sisters, take care of your husbands once in a while, go out of your way, initiate.
It's a good thing. I'd say from my own experience, there's just something that it does to your ego when it's the lady that says, hey, we need to get it on tonight. So
send him some naughty message,
It's awesome. But another thing I would want to tie to that, I remember there's one nugget piece that we wrote at one time, and the story was, the husband was asking the lady, and then he told the wife, tell me something dirty. He was really getting in the mood, getting in the groove. And the lady said, the dishes.
Oh, yeah. I get you.
So sometimes it's good to be sensitive also to each other. I've seen men who get home, they're from work, the wife is from work as well, and they sit on the couch, stretch the legs, skinny legs on the table, and they're scrolling their phones, or they're just scrolling channels on the TV. The lady has got to go prepare the meal. She's got to go take care of the children, do the dishes, do the clothes, then come serve him, and then afterwards clean, and all these things. And then the gentleman still expects her to...
It's going to be a cold night.
To be dramatic in bed that night. So sometimes it's good to work together as a team, so that you get to bed early and you have time to really cozy up. So when you work together as a team that way, it's good to be sensitive, so that you don't expect this lady who comes from work and does all these things until 10 p.m. and then you are over there with Abdallah arising and wanting action without really helping your lady. And lastly, on just that specific aspect, we mentioned the children, and we know that children, when they come in, a lot can change in the sexual relationship. Can you speak a little bit about that?
Okay, when children come, of course they create a new dynamic, and of course, one, I would start with saying that sometimes women might start becoming very body conscious, something maybe they were not. You're concerned about the weight you've not yet lost after you got the last baby, or some stretch marks, and and of course there's advancing age, so there are those challenges that might arise, and it's just good for the husbands to be sensitive to that and be reassuring. But as a wife, it's also good to be confident in yourself, be able to take care of yourself, but accept yourself as you are, and realize that your husband loves you. At that time,
we find you very
he's
sexy. I must say this. When Blood has gone to Netherlands, we are not thinking about this pot belly or thinking about stretch mark or whatever. I can assure you, when Blood has gone to Netherlands, the husbands are finding you attractive. They want to get it done. So I like to say that confidence is the sexiest thing a woman can put on.
So it's very important to carry yourself with that confidence. But then the other thing that comes, of course, babies come with a lot of, responsibilities in terms of just taking care of them. And it doesn't matter much whether you have a house help or not. Of course, house helps are very, they reduce the burden. But, they can't be 100%. So they're just those unique, like if you have to breastfeed the baby, you have, to burp the baby. There are just a number of things that come in. I would encourage the husbands to be supportive as much as they can. If you can afford to have a house help, that you should. But we've been out there and lived out of the country in the West. It's having house helps is unaffordable. So a couple takes turns, just raising their kids at home. So they're just those challenges that add on to the responsibilities at home, to the extra expenses and all that. So these are the times that you have to be very intentional about scheduling times together, and also helping each other to ensure that the burden is not on one person, to just make it lighter. And then the other thing is that, unless you lack room, you should ensure that when a child is of a certain age, for us it was at 1 year, get them out of the bedroom, put them in another room, and let them not be a hindrance to times together. And for us, we have teenagers now and a young one. They know, they respect our bedroom. They don't come into the room without knocking. You just some rules that you set that they get to respect, and they know there are times if the door is not answered and the house is not on fire, there's no crisis, then give us time. So it's good for your kids to see that you're romantic with one another, that as much as that is very private business, they still have an understanding. They see you being affectionate towards each other, because you're the first testimonial of what a marriage should look like, and whatever you do shapes them. So ensure that kids do not hinder you from having wonderful sexual relations in your marriage.
Fantastic. And I think just to land the plane, we'll discuss in other episodes, faithfulness.
Very important.
Is the greatest turn on. I think people like to take a lot of it. Where I come from, there is a specific herb.
Is it mokomero?
Once you take this one, it will make you do amazing things in bed. But I think faithfulness really is the greatest aphrodisiac that exists out there.
I agree.
Yeah. Keep the marital bed holy. It will do amazing things to your sexual relationship. Exclusivity. Yes. There's something that does to the beauty of the sexual relationship. When I know I'm exclusively hers, she's exclusively mine.
Yes.
That makes a beautiful sexual relationship.
And makes it super special.
All right, folks. Enough for today. We are going to continue on this topic in some other episodes. At the end of the day, remember, sex is God's idea, and every couple should be enjoying it as much as possible. I would say daily.